Welcome to Love Lattes, the podcast designed for women who are ready to stop settling and start living a life full of authentic love, confidence, and real connection. I'm your host, Victoria, the self-love scientist, speaker, and coach, and I'm here to help you reclaim your power, deepen your relationships, and fall unapologetically in love with yourself. So grab your tea, your latte, or your favorite beverage, and let's get started. Hello, my darlings. Welcome to another episode of Love Lattes. Today's episode. It's going to feel like a deep exhale. I mean, 'tis the holiday season, got some gatherings and feelings, but how do we want to end the year and enter this new year feeling refreshed? It's not just let me hop on the bike or let me change my meal prep. This is going to be about inner work. We're talking today about the one F word that will completely transform your relationships. And I'm talking intimate ones, family ones, personal ones. Okay. And when I say the F word, not that one, the other one. I'm talking about the one word that can be used as a tool to emotional cord cutting. And with this, you will be able to free yourself from the energy of the past. You will be able to unpack heavy things that no longer work for you to the future so that you can open up the possibilities of more, right? Can you guess what the word is? Okay, here it goes. That word is forgiveness. There may be a season or maybe something recently that you experienced resentment, especially in relationships. This is quite common. You might be thinking to yourself, you have done enough self-care, or maybe if you just keep doing more runs or keep eating the right things or just disassociate, it'll make those unwanted feelings, negative feelings go away. But honestly, unfortunately, distracting yourself with the superficial things is not going to protect you from the stuff that's happening on the inside. Okay? Forgiveness is not forgetting. This episode is not about you forgive and you forget. This is not that podcast. Okay? Forgiveness is not excusing. We're not saying, if I forgive you, or you're forgiving them and you're excusing their behaviors. No, that's not what we're talking about. Forgiveness is not inviting the wrong people back. Just because you forgive someone does not mean they're allowed to come back. Okay? Forgiveness is not saying that you're pretending that it didn't hurt. Like, oh no, I'm actually fine. No, honey, no. But here's what it is, right? This is what we're going to get into. Forgiveness is releasing the hook. Forgiveness is detaching your worth from the wound. Forgiveness is taking your power back because you are closing these doors and making space for peace. Forgiveness is a deep form of self-care. It's as if you're saying, I no longer choose to carry this because I'm better than that. And that has a lot of respect to it. Okay. Now, the way I'm saying it, you're like, wow, Victoria, you make it sound easy. It's so much harder than that. And I hear you. That's what we're going to talk about today. By practicing forgiveness, you are emotionally decluttering. Imagine doing spiritual housekeeping, right? For your soul, except it's self-respect. Because at the end of the day, in any situation, you need to consider you. So let's consider how we can apply forgiveness in 3 different types of relationships. Let's start with the roots, aka your family. F is for family too. Okay, so here is where we can find deep roots. It is through our family relationships we have deeper, even deeper wounds, deeper traumas. Some are more expansive than the other. No matter what you have experienced, there can be some form of trauma. And these experiences from your family or guardianship, they have shaped you, how you experience love, how you expect it, how you trust, how you attach. And it's not your fault. Maybe there was a lack of nurturing, maybe there was a lot of criticism, and maybe at some point there was even a misunderstanding or abandonment. Whatever it was, and when I say was, it's because family can, it does shift your foundation of who you are, right? And when I'm saying was, I mean, we're applying this concept to things that happened in the past. So, how can you apply forgiveness in this aspect? Well, forgiveness in family relations means to say that you understand that despite these circumstances, despite this lack, that whether it was your parents, your siblings, a family member, a guardian, they were operating from their own wounds. So you can say, and you can write this down if you have a moment, I understand and I forgive you because you were operating from your own wounds and they will affect me no more. Because with this, you are recognizing that these people in your life were living life and they were acting on what they knew, and you want to change that. It's not yours to carry anymore. I know um, when I wanted to separate and get a divorce, my parents were just they were scared. They were my parents, They wanted what was best for me, and being an independent woman running a business in the city was something so foreign to them that our relationship completely just it changed. I lost a lot of family. I've lost friends, and now we're in this makeup period because they realized that, you know what, she's doing fine, but they reacted because of they all they ever knew was, the only way through this life is, for a woman is to be supported by a man. I was like, oh no, you know? So you can love your family. You can also keep your distance and build boundaries that are so strong and respected. And you can also forgive. Next, let's talk about romantic relationships. Let's talk about your partners and applying forgiveness there. Romantic wounds are tied to intimacy, trust, and self-worth, right? When someone you love or thought you would build a life with breaks you, hurts you, does any kind of thing, it feels so personal. It does. Here's the truth. Forgiveness is how you end the relationship spiritually. Most people can leave you physically, but emotionally, you're going to stay tied to that individual for a very long time unless you're willing to do the work. That's why you replay the conversations over and over. If only I said this, and then why did they say that? And then victim blaming. That's why you feel so angry months later, like, this could have been better, and blah, blah, blah. And that's why you hear a song and it hits you like a bruise because they are still emotionally tied to you. And you could sit there and be like, I am better off, or screw them, blah, blah, blah. But then you're still attached. I'm not saying this is not where, we'll forgive and forget. No, no, no. You can't forget what happened. You won't. There will be memories. That's part of your history. But it does not have to define your worth now. And the best way to heal and rebuild is to forgive. Forgiveness in your relationships is going to feel like an internal breakup. You may have experienced an end and it's just physically suffocating. It's awful. It's painful. This next part with applying forgiveness is going to feel like another one. because there is a part of you that didn't want it to end. And this is your way of saying goodbye. Thank you for the lessons. I want the best for you. And you let them disassociate. You can let go like a balloon. You're forgiving yourself, in many ways. You're forgiving yourself for staying longer than you should have. You forgive yourself for not knowing better at the time. You're forgiving yourself that the version of you thought that this was the best you could get. And you're forgiving yourself for the time and the individual who even broke you. And it's really hard, emotional, energetic relationships are the hardest, just like the family ones. It's in the roots. This is weaved in. That does not mean that you won't be able to move forward. You absolutely can. So, how are you doing so far? I know this is probably a little heavy, but trust me, when we really start to reflect on our relationships and we practice these concepts of forgiveness, by forgiving this partner, forgiving your parents, for forgiving this person, when you energetically let that like come off your chest, it's like, wow, I can move forward from this. Okay, so let's get to the hardest way to apply forgiveness. And not a lot of people actually consider this because it's a little different, right? Like just like any kind of breakup, you're like, oh, I forgive him or I forgive them, blah, blah, blah. So why don't we talk about forgiving yourself? Yeah. There's probably a time where, you know, we make decisions driven by emotions or circumstances, and you can't go back, right? In order for you to move forward and apply the lessons and be the better person, to be better, to grow from this, to heal, is to forgive yourself. This is where people get stuck. It's so easy. Like I said, the first two, you're probably like, okay, I could forgive others. We tend to forgive others quicker than we forgive ourselves. We punish ourselves longer than anyone else ever has. Oh, I should have said this, or, oh, I can't believe this, and I'm still holding on to this. We replay our mistakes like we're obligated to suffer, and that's not the case. That is not true. And I want you to understand that self-forgiveness sounds like I didn't know then what I know now. Okay? Just think about that. I didn't know then what I know now. Another way you could apply self-forgiveness is I'm allowed to grow beyond my old decisions. My past doesn't disqualify me from happiness. You are learning, you are evolving, and you can release yourself from this. Because when you forgive yourself, every relationship in your life is going to shift. Because you're no longer operating from a system in your nervous system from shame. You stop attracting people who mirror your wounds. You stop accepting breadcrumbs. You stop abandoning your needs and yourself. And self-forgiveness is a huge, is a deep, like this is going to be the strongest manicure, the deepest massage, it's not the equivalent of an orgasm, but the liberation you get from forgiveness is a whole nother level of love. You're literally letting your heart unclench. It's powerful. And the more we practice this, the more we are free. And when you feel free, you're literally walking on air. Everything is so wonderful. And if we really think about it, again, this is not to say, well, I can't just forget. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you no longer have to associate your worth or yourself with those events. Forgiveness is like the weight off. It's a clean slate. It is literally cutting cords at the root. Okay? Because when you realize the power of knowing, I no longer want to hold on to this, right? You probably know someone or multiple people who hold on to grudges. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessarily holding on to something that may or may not have to do with them. This is very big when it comes to changes, whether it's in a situation, relationship, a life circumstance. Nobody likes change, but that doesn't mean they have to hold on to it, right? So, if today's episode brought up some emotions, this is a good thing. Forgiveness touches the places we tend to avoid. If you have experienced something and you're trying to do the work, you're trying to move on, you're trying to be better, but you just keep falling down, think about, have I forgiven myself? Have I forgiven the individual? Because trust me when I say, when you do, when you accept and learn to forgive, because again, you did not know what you know now back then. And neither did that other person, neither did your family, neither did your business associate, anyone in this kind of circumstance. It's going to change your perspective completely. You're no longer, going to, acknowledge the fact that this is it, right? It's going to get better from here. It'll take time. Um, just remember that forgiving someone or even forgiving yourself is not a sign of weakness. It is a form of leadership, actually. It's quite ballsy. It's another form, like I said, of love. And if you're really, if you're struggling with this, if you're questioning, if you're, I did the forgiveness, I've done this and it's not working, let me know. I'm going to put a link in our show notes. If you need to set up a one-to-one with me, it's always free. Sign up. Let's talk about it. And if you really enjoyed this episode and you know someone who could use some help with tips on forgiving, share the episode. You're doing the work, love. And by applying this concept, you can enter the new year like a new badass babe. Like, hell yeah. Like, oh, you carry yourself so well. You carry yourself so lightly. That's because you're doing deep fucking work. And I'm so proud for you. Thank you so much for tuning into another amazing episode of Love and Lattes. Please send some love, give us a 5 star, drop a comment, say hi, and I hope you have the best day ever. Mwah.